Yo, what is up guys? Jay Blanks here from Blanks Gaming with another Monster Hunter video, and today's video will be on a mix set or build. And the reason I love making these kinds of videos is because I am not well versed in all of the weapons in Monster Hunter, and these builds allow me to pretty much take a different approach or strategy to fight a monster using the weapon I do know how to use, which is the shield and sword. So if you guys thought this build was interesting or was something you want to try out, feel free to drop a like and feel free to subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Also, just a warning, I'll be showing some clips of the Elder Dragons and Xeno'jiiva. So having said all that, let's begin the video. Alright, so I'll be going over the purpose of this build and the armor pieces that make it up, as well as the skills that they provide, and I'll show you some examples of what this build can actually do, and the reason I thought it was so much fun to use and would be interesting to share with you guys. So the purpose of this build is to be a defensive tank, allowing you to stay up close and personal to the monster, not having to worry about rolling or dodging attacks, because your block will pretty much soak up all of the damage that's thrown at you. And just to go over some of the skills that the armor provides, as you can see, we have level 5 guard, and this comes from the charm and the Uragaan Vambraces and Greaves. And the reason we have this is because we will be using our block throughout the battle, and this massively decreases the impact of attacks and reduces stamina depletion by 50%, which is very important for this build. The next skill we have is level 5 earplugs, and this comes from the Basil Helm and Basil Coil, as well as a level 1 earplug gem. And this nullifies weak and strong monster roars, which is very useful because since we are unaffected by these roars, we're able to deal constant damage to the monster, as well as prevent them from changing locations on the map using a flash pod. And this is because a monster always lets out a roar right before they switch locations. Another skill we have is level 2 weakness exploit, and this actually comes from 2 level 1 weakness exploit gems. I was actually lucky enough to get both of them, and this will definitely help in my damage output because, as you can see, I do only have level 1 attack boost, and I also don't have any affinity on the current weapon. And just another bonus skill, this actually comes from the Uragaan Mail, which is Part Breaker level 2. This gives us 20% extra part damage, allowing us to break monster parts more easily, and also sever tails. And the last and final skill, the one that ties all of this together and the most important one in the build, it is Guard Up, which comes from wearing 3 pieces of the Uragaan armor, and this allows you to guard against any attack that would originally be unblockable. So this is actually a very useful skill, and it's pretty much the cherry on top for this build. And just to show you some examples of the guard up skill in action, it can block all of Kirin's lightning attacks, such as the attack that comes from the sky, as well as the lightning that he shoots in a straight line. This can also block Teostra's fire breath, as well as his special attack, which is pretty crazy because it's that huge explosion that he releases from his body when he flies up into the air. This can also block Vaal Hazak's effluvium dust that he breathes onto the ground, and also his special attack, which is the effluvium breath. This is also very useful in the Xeno'jiiva fight because you are able to block his laser or blast attacks, which is very useful for situations such as when you're knocked down and you won't be able to roll out of the way in time, because once you get up you can instantly block the attack. Now, to go over the strategy, like we said before, we are a defensive tank and we are going to rely on our block, and what you have to understand about this is that blocking has to do with timing, and you need to be able to time it perfectly because you're not able to block while doing an attacking animation, so you can't just swing your sword randomly and hack and slash, because if you're caught in an attacking animation while he's about to unleash an attack, then you'll definitely pay for it and take a lot of damage. So you want to time it perfectly. You want to be able to predict what the monster does by the animation they do before an attack, and in order to learn all that, you pretty much just do it through reps, through fighting the monster over and over again. I think one of the easier ones to learn is Nergigante because his animations before his attacks are actually very easy to tell, like the one where he stands on 2 feet. Another thing to take note about this build is that you actually have to aim the block. You can't just hold the block button and expect it to actually block the attack. You have to be facing the right direction in order to block it. As you can see here, I was facing the wrong way and did not turn in time, so I actually got hit by the attack. But a great thing about this build is that you're able to sit at pretty low HP because you know that your block will absorb all of the damage. And once you have the timing down and are able to block most of his attacks, you can actually use potions less and deal more damage. But as you can see here, I was attacking wildly and I did an advancing slash which prevented me from blocking that last attack. And like I said before, this timing comes with experience. Like right here, I should have known that his swipe attack was coming because he does wind up for it. But the nice thing about this build is as I was getting up, I wouldn't be able to roll out of the way, but I was able to block right when I got up, so I was able to pretty much soak up the damage at such low HP. Nergigante's Superman dive also deals a lot of damage and is sometimes hard to roll out of because of how big the hitbox is. But as you can see here, this is such a good build because you don't have to roll out of the way, and normally it would take a lot of stamina and health to block it, but as you can see here, my health stayed pretty much the same and my stamina only went down for a little bit, which really shows how much of a tank this build is. Now right here was a perfect opportunity to take advantage of our earplug skill, but unfortunately I did not do it for some reason. But as you can see, when he let out the roar, I was still attacking, so I was able to actually use a flash pod to prevent him from moving to this part of the map. This next segment is a perfect example of what I mean by staying up close and personal to the monster. As you can see, I could block the standing attack and still deal constant damage to the spikes because I did not have to roll away. And once you have the timing down of all the attacks, you can actually block pretty much all of them. Of course, mistakes will be made on the way because of the heat of the battle and depending how fast you want to complete the quest or monster hunt. But once you do have that timing down, like almost every attack, unfortunately there I made a mistake and didn't block in time and pretty much was attacking wildly like I said before. But once you have that timing down, most of his attacks are very easy to read, which is why I chose Nergigante for this video. I'm also the most experienced compared to all the other monsters with Nergigante because he was in the beta. And right here is a perfect example of me actually using the earplug skill to my advantage because he let out that roar and he was limping, so I knew he was weak, so I decided to use the flash pod before he switched to a different location. Another item that I like to use for this build is the health booster because we will be staying in pretty much the same location throughout the fight, or at least try to, which is right under the monster. And having the health booster up allows me to pretty much heal back the small amount of health that I lose from blocking some of his attacks. So it's very useful and very convenient because we don't have to use potions and we can just keep constantly dealing that damage to the monster. As we near the end of the fight, I'm going to wrap up the video there. I hope you guys enjoyed this mix set or build, and if you did, if it's something you guys would definitely want to try out in the future, or if you thought it was something interesting to see, feel free to drop a like and feel free to subscribe. It really does help the channel out, and I really do appreciate all of the support from you guys. And like I said before, I really enjoy making these mix sets because it really does change up the strategy or approach you need to use in order to fight a monster while using the weapon that you're best at. And having said all that, this is Jay Blanks from Blanks Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.